Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Skydance and Paramount are merging. Yep, it is confirmed. Paramount and Skydance agree to terms of a merger deal. Pretty major shake-up, actually, of the Hollywood landscape. Paramount, long-time studio, been around for a really long time. You know, not a small fry. Was quite large back in the day. Not so big now. Paramount Plus is doing relatively okay-ish to a degree, maybe. But these streaming platforms have been the death of Hollywood. They've absolutely cannibalized themselves. Stupid idiots. But anyway, this is quite an interesting turn of events. We're going to take a look at this today. This has been rumored for some time. I'm surprised Skydance is doing it. Skydance, yeah, man, they have grown. They have grown and grown and grown and grown. And good for them, I guess. You know, they do put out some good movies. So not all of them, but of course some of them. So there you go, I guess. Let's take a look. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Turn the bell notifications on and support further via Patreon for as little as $2 a month. That would be great because YouTube demonetizes my channel sometimes and it's very frustrating. But anyway, just a side note, yes, Skydance were influential in the Terminator films, the most recent ones, and yes, they are awful. They're horrendous. But Skydance was also influential in Top Gun getting off the ground as well. And they've got some pretty good deals pretty much with the likes of Tom Cruise, and they have turned a corner with a lot of their content. But anyway, like I said, let's take a look. Because this is literally breaking news. Not at the time of this video releasing. I have to make these in advance. YouTube doesn't let me release videos when I want because they cannibalize themselves otherwise and they don't promote them. And it's a palaver. Alright, this is the life of making content. So anyway, Paramount and Skydance has now agreed to terms of merger. And of course, it's released on CNBC. So, as it says here, Paramount and Skydance have agreed to terms of a merger, which will likely be announced in the coming days. CNBC's David Faber reported Monday. The agreement comes after weeks of discussion and after a recent competing offer from Apollo Global Management and Sony Pictures, which is interesting. You know, it's interesting that they had that. I mean, Sony, I don't know. I like Sony just kind of doing their own thing. They're funny to laugh at every now and then, and they do make some decent films here and there. And I like their Screen Gems arm. I like that. Anyway, as it says here, Paramount and Skydance have agreed to terms of a merger, which will likely be announced in the coming days. So this is, reported by David Faber. A Paramount Special Committee and the buying consortium, David Ellison Skydance, backed by private equity firms Redbird Capital and KKR, have agreed to terms. Now, one thing which is noticeably absent there is BlackRock. Where's that? Good. I'm glad they're not so involved in this. Finally, something they're not involved in. Good times. And Vanguard, of course. But anyway, so the deal is awaiting sign-off from Paramount's controlling shareholder, Shari Redstone. She is the reason this is even happening. Who owns National Amusements, which owns 77% of Class A Paramount shares, Faber said Monday. So the agreement comes after weeks of discussion and after a recent competing offer from Apollo Global Management and Sony Pictures. The deal currently calls for Redstone to receive $2 billion. Shit me. For wow. For National Amusements, Faber reported today, Monday. Skydance will buy out nearly 50% of Class B Paramount shares at $15 a piece, or $4.5 billion, which will leave the holders with equity in the new company. Skydance and Redbird will also contribute $1.5 billion in cash to Paramount's balance sheet to help reduce debt. Yeah, I mean, Paramount Plus, again, they're not... I mean, they're still bad. All of it's bad. All streaming platforms are dying. So, yeah, debt. Good times. Good times. Anyway. So, it says here, following the close of the deal, Skydance and Redbird will own 2/3 of Paramount and the Class B shareholders will own the remaining third of the company, Faber reported. The negotiating terms were earlier reported by the Wall Street Journal. The deal will not require a vote from the shareholders, which was part of the negotiations, Faber reported. That's interesting. Paramount's annual shareholder meeting will take place on Tuesday, and in total the deal is valued at $8 billion, an increase from what was initially on the table. Earlier, the offer from Skydance was valued at about $5 billion, and under those earlier terms, Redstone would have received less than $2 billion for her stake. Class B shareholders would have been bought out at nearly 30% premium at $11 a share. So they're getting good, I guess, on their Yeah, they're getting it all right now. $15 a share. So in early May, Apollo and Sony formally expressed interest in acquiring Paramount for about $26 billion, which is madness. CNBC previously reported, however, Redstone has favoured a deal that would keep Paramount together, which, that makes sense. Good. Good. Fine. No issues with that. Apollo and Sony plan to break up the company. So, yeah, fine. Besides the twists and turns of the negotiations with buyers, Paramount's C-suite has also undergone a shake-up in recent months. Bob Bakish stepped down as CEO in late April, was replaced by what the company calls the Office of the CEO. Interesting. Paramount is now led by 3 executives. Good times. Anyway, there's more. So this was posted a little bit more recent. So yeah, here's a statement. Here's a statement from... This is following is the unofficial transcript of breaking news from David Faber. So this is the sort of transcript anyway, and this is CNBC. Not really anything really massive to sort of take a look at with this. This is just kind of what they go into. Look, it's interesting. They do say here, and this is important, what you guys were probably going to say, but Jim and Carl, what that means for the future of Paramount as you wait for a close. By the way, who knows how long that could be. You've got the FCC who's got to sign off on it. Ah, yes. And CBS is owned there. So, I mean, that's the major thing. Still got to be signed off on. The FCC still has to sign off on it. Which is interesting. Interesting. It does say that there will be an annual meeting tomorrow. So that'll be interesting as well. So, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to mention it there in the annual meeting. But there you go. I mean, what else do you say about this? It's reshaping the movie industry. And they kind of only got themselves to blame. There's so many film studios with a great deal of issues at the moment. It's primarily because they tried to win the streaming wars when the streaming wars was an unwinnable battle. You were never going to win that. Ever. Like, you're never going to win it. The people that win are those that sell content to Netflix. Like Warner Brothers is doing. HBO Max. I'm recently seeing content from there on there. Scavenger's Reign, for instance, was on there. That's how you win the streaming wars. Is by giving it to Netflix. Selling it to Netflix. So you profit. You know, that thing that keeps a company rolling. Profit. So there you go. Paramount and Skydance. This could be really good for the movie industry. Another big player that isn't, you know, incredibly woke. Thoughts down below.